First off, Chikorita. I mean, Chikorita's like the kind of, I guess, prime example of the one starter that people hate. I don't hate it. Yeah, it's my second favourite of this trio. I'll rank it in neutral. I definitely don't hate it, because a lot of people like do actually just hate this thing. Bayleaf kind of falls in the same boat. Its name is kind of lazy. Meganium probably gets a tier higher because it had a cool thing in New Pokemon Snap, which I remember playing a few years ago and I liked. But it's got a cool design. It should have been like Grass Dragon maybe, or Grass Fairy even. Even something like Grass, like Grass Normal would work. Cyndaquil, I like Cyndaquil. How can you not? This thing was actually originally my least favourite of the Legends of Arceus starters, but now it's my favourite, mostly because of the Hisuian evolution, which we'll get to later. Quilava, it's kind of just Typhlosion but smaller, I guess. But like, I can't really love it because there's not much there, but Typhlosion, I can't put in love because it's a bit less like interesting than Quilava, but still a cool design. Hisuian Typhlosion on the other hand, my opinion of this thing has like skyrocketed, and I have no idea why, because this thing, like I said, this used to be my least favourite of the Legends of Arceus trio. I chose Decidueye in my first playthrough. Decidueye is still like maybe my favourite starter. It might be second to this though, or second to Superior. They were kind of, the three of them were kind of tied up here. I just think this is a really cool design, like the purple, like pink kind of flames, with like the ghost like tail and the different like stance. It's just so cool. Totodile, it's my least favourite of this trio. Actually no, I like Totodile. Totodile's kind of cute. It's just a bit of an unappealing design, like, I don't know, Crocodile just looks a bit too babyish. And then for Alligator, it's just one of those like early gen kind of unappealing designs where it's just not got a lot going on. Centret. I love Centret. Actually, maybe not love. I like it. It's a cute design. It's probably one of my favourite like just like regional mammals. It kind of just does what Patrat does, but just better. For like, I remember the whole like fur looking up an escalator thing. But the Pokemon, it's cute. It sure is a ferret. Hoot toot. I love this design actually. I used to hate this, but it's such a good design with like the clock face and like the whole like nocturnal owl thing. I love it. Also the red eyes are very scary sometimes. Also it only has 1 foot, I just realised that now. Noctowl. It should be Psychic, I don't know why it's not Psychic. I still like this. I actually used the Noctowl on my original Sword and Shield team. It doesn't have as cool a design as Hoot Hoot, because it kind of loses the whole like clock face thing, and it's kind of just an angry owl now. Ladybird. I don't think you really can dislike it, just because there's not enough going on to dislike it. But you can't really like it either for the same reason. Yeah, it's neutral. Ladian. I mean, it's infamously like bad. Because it's got like base 58 attack or something, and then it's got Iron Fist, which is pretty funny. It's got the whole like kind of superhero kind of thing going on. It looks like a middle stage though, and it never got an evolution. So Spinarak is. This has been one of those Pokemon that's really off-putting. Like, I get that it's kind of meant to be off-putting with like the face under spec, but it does a bit too good a job of that. Ariados, it's a bit cooler actually. I like this design a bit. No, it's neutral. It's kind of just a spider. I don't know why I put in like Crobat. Okay, this design would go in like dislike or neutral, but I might just have to bump it up a little bit just because of how much it improves on the rest of the Zubat line. Like, this thing actually looks kind of cool. Like, I might actually like use this in a team, whereas Zubat and Golbat down here, like, these guys just look really ugly. Like, I wouldn't want one of these. Chinchou. I like Chinchou. I remember when I like first got into the Pokemon franchise, and I got a Chinchou card, and I really liked it. And then it was kind of one of my favorite designs for a long time. Lantern. Lantern is just a bit weird of a design compared to Chinchou. I don't like how it's longer. I think that's a little bit weird. Also, like, there should definitely be more like anglerfish Pokemon. The fact that this is the only one, like, this is a bit sad because this is all we have. Pichu. It's in Smash, and I used to main it. Like half the rest of the roster. Goes in like. It does a perfect job of like encapsulating like the new baby Pokemon thing. That's kind of it though. Cleffa looks like a Gen 1 design, but not really in a good way. I don't like the horns. The horns just look a bit off-putting to me. It looks like a star though, which is kind of cool. But overall I don't like this design. It's just a bit odd. Igglybuff, no. This is Jigglypuff if it was scary. Why are its eyes red? Why? I always forget this Pokemon exists, and I'm glad about that. Togepi, this is another Gen 1 design in Gen 2. I'll put it neutral. Its whole egg thing is kind of cool. Okay, Togetic. What is this? I'm sorry for putting this here, because I do like Togekiss. It's just Togetic is just such a weird middle stage. It's like they just like took Togekiss and Togepi and just tried to like kind of like make an in-between for that, but they didn't do a very good job, and they kind of just chose like the middle point between them. Also the fact that this was like the end of the Togepi line in Gen 2, because Togekiss is Gen 4. So, like, for 2 whole gens, this was where this line ended, and that's just, like, really? Like, I know Gen 4 was when they went back and gave, like, a lot of, evolution lines extra members, but still, it's just a bit... Let me take a water. Natu. I like this. It's a bit spherical. Yeah, I think it's neutral. Xatu. Okay, Xatu. This used to be one of my favourite Pokemon. My favourite type used to be Psychic, and this was one of my favourite Psychic types. I like the whole, like, totem pole kind of aesthetic it's got. I like how it keeps the colour palette relatively simple, but it still introduces other things, because in Gen 1 I think the colour palettes were very, like, monochromatic most of the time. It was just a bit bland. And then in later gens I think they use too many colours sometimes, but I think this is perfect balance. Mareep. I think I'm the only person who would put Mareep in dislike. Are these horns? Are these made of metal? Why does it have this ball on its tail? I don't know. It's just not as cute as I think people think it is. Same goes with Fluffy. Fluffy goes here. Ampharos goes in neutral. Mega Ampharos, though. Mega Ampharos goes in favourite. Mega Ampharos is my second favourite Mega, behind Mega Altario. Mega Ampharos is just like a goofy dragon type. It doesn't really make sense why it's dragon type, but I kind of like it. It's got tail glow, which makes it fun to use. Yeah, it just has a lot more going on in its design, like the kind of like cloud-like, like storm-like hair. Ampharos is a little cooler. Actually, no. Ampharos just looks weird as well. Like, that's not a sheep. I'm not really sure what this is based off of, but I don't think it does a very good job at encapsulating whatever it is based off, because I can't tell what it is. Blossom. I actually like this. It's an alternate evolution of the Oddish Gloom Vileplume line. I don't like it quite as much as Vileplume, but it pulls off like dancer thing. I think Oricorio does a better job of the whole dancer thing, but making it be like a plant, I don't know, it's a neat design. Marill. This is Marill, right? No, is this Zuriel? No, this is Marill. Yeah, this is Marill. I'm not really sure what this is based off of. I think this is based off like bubbles and rabbits, I guess. but it's a kind of cool design. Yeah, I guess neutral. There's not much else to say. Again, I do like this color palette. I think Johto might have my favorite color palettes overall. I like how simple it stays. I have more to say about Zoomerel though, because a Zoomerel I like less from a design standpoint and more from a competitive standpoint. This thing is so fun. I think it's been OU for at least some time in every gen. I think at least definitely in the later ones. Because this thing has like Belly Drum, it has Aquajet, it has Liquidation, it has Play Rough. It's good in Scarlet and Violet Terror raids because you can run like Rain Dance or Misty Terrain on it, and then just like one-shot every boss. Oh yeah, huge power as well. I forgot huge power. Sudowoodo. It's kind of cool. Old bonsai tree, like mimic tree thing. Neutral. I don't like how much it's exaggerated that like, oh wow, it's a grass type. It's a grass type, guys, and it's actually a rock type, no way. I just think it's a cool design, but it doesn't really need to have the whole mimic thing, like, exaggerated that much. Politoed. This thing was the rain setter before Pelipper. It was really good in Gen 5 OU because weather was permanent, so you could just set up rain and it'll be there for the whole time. You could run like Keldeo alongside Politoed, but Politoed still holds up, I think. Hoppip. I don't like it. I'm not really sure what it's meant to be, apart from like... I think it's meant to be based on like sycamore seeds maybe, but it doesn't really... It's not very clear. Skip Bloom. This is arguably worse, actually. No, I guess same tier. Actually, in fact, all of these get the same tier. I don't like this design. It's just a bit off-putting compared to what they could have made, like, kind of dandelion kind of design. Apom. It's a bit off-putting again. Ambipom, which I think is Gen 4, does like the kind of tail hand thing a bit cooler. Sunkern. I don't like why I don't like the fact that its eyes are black. It's just a bit scary. Sunflora. It needs an evolution. I can't hate it because its design is simple, but it just looks like a middle stage thing between Sunkern and something else. Yanma. I mean, dragonflies are cool. One of my favourite animals. Yanmega is a cooler design. Well, obviously it's second evolution, but Yanma, its colour palette is good, I'll give it that. Wooper. People like Wooper. I like Wooper. I don't like it too much. I think it's cool. It's Paldean Wooper. I think it's good. I think the only thing is that, like, this is one of the two Paldean forms, the other being Tauros. And I think that the fact that they introduced convergent forms in Gen 9, but then didn't do more with them outside of 2 Pokemon, and then still kept like regional variants, but only did 2 of them as well. It just doesn't really make sense. Like, I would just go all in with the convergence instead, because they're just a lot more interesting, and there's a lot more room for like playing around with the designs. Quagsire. I'm not sure what this is meant to be, because they're not Axolotl anymore. Not much to say about it. It's got Unaware. It used to be good, it's not really good anymore, but it's still kind of fun. Espeon is my favourite evolution, and it's the only one that I actually like, to be honest. I just like Espeon's kind of more like mystical kind of vibe that it's got. Umbreon is incredibly overrated. This thing is like... it's not my least favourite evolution. Actually, it's probably one of my favourites, but that's only because I don't really like the evolutions much in general. And Umbreon kind of just fits in that kind of middling space where it's like, okay, this is a animal. Murkrow. I like his hat. His hat is cool. Slowking. Okay, this is kind of interesting. Slowking used to be my favourite Pokemon. I've said these about a lot, but Slowking was my favourite Pokemon for probably the longest time. I want to say like 2 years maybe? And I still like this design. It does a bit more with Slowpoke's thing, and like makes the shelter on its head do more. I like the little like frilly kind of thing it's got around its neck, the collar, and I just like its kind of vibe a bit more. Galarian Slowking though. Okay. Galarian Slowking goes higher. When they announced Galarian Slowking for the Isle of Armor, I was so happy, because Slowking was my favourite Pokemon at the time, so getting like this cooler purple kind of form of it was just the coolest thing ever to me. I still really like this design. Mischievous. This is the pre-evolution of my favourite Pokemon, so it automatically gets a love. And it's not as good as Mismagius, of course, but we'll get to Mismagius when we do Gen 4. For the unknown, I'm not going to rank every letter of this because it'll just take up too much space on the tier list. I can do an alphabet ranking some other time. I'm going to use the... which one should I use? Let's use question mark. Unknown is kind of cool. I like how they introduced it in not Gen 8. Well, yeah, Gen 8, but Legends Arceus specifically. How it's more of a collectible than actual Pokemon. I think that's a really good way of doing it. And this thing being like Arceus's kind of messengers almost is good. I like that. And I like the idea that the like letters and language are based off of these instead of the other way around. I think that it could have done with like a alternate form or something, maybe where like all the letters come together and something happens. I don't know, but I think they could do more with it. I think they will do more with it in the future, because this is very... yeah, I like it, but I think they could do more. Wobbuffet. It's a punching bag with a evil tail thing. I don't really know what this is meant to be. Graphic? Ferrograph. Wait, which one's this? This is Graphic, right? This is Graphic, yeah. They could have gone Psychic Dark with this, especially because they introduced Dark types in this gen. But they didn't need to, I guess. And Psychic Normal works fine. But I'll put this in neutral, because it does something kind of interesting. It doesn't really do anything that can get me to like it, but it doesn't do anything that can get me to dislike it either. And I think that's a perfect fine place to be. Pineco. It's a pine cone. There's really nothing else to it. It drops from trees and it does the exact same thing as Burmy. Fortress. It's everyone's favourite rapid spinner. Apart from the fact that it's no one's favourite, because no one actually likes this thing. It's based on like a fortress shell pinecone nut thing. I don't know why it's bug type. I guess it's a bagworm, I think, kind of. Yeah, I think it's a bagworm, which is exactly what Burmy is as well. So I like it a bit more than... I don't actually like it a bit more than Pineco. Dunsparce. I like it. I think that it didn't need an evolution. Which is probably the opposite of what a lot of people say. To me, Dunsparce is kind of just like Dunsparce, and that's this whole thing is just a weak little thing that kind of just goes around and is weak. And I think it could have just stayed like that, and they didn't really need to do much about it. It's not as cool as Gliscor, but it tries. It's a scorpion bat thing. I like the fact that they're pulling from multiple like animals at once now. Although I unfortunately think that there's not really much else to its design than that. Steelix. It's kind of the poster child of steel types. It's kind of just Onyx but with steel. I don't know why this got steel ground instead of steel rock. Mega Steelix is actually quite cool. I like the crystals. The crystals are very cool. And the fact that it's got crystals like piercing through its body, I really like that. Snubble? I never really understand this Pokemon. I think it's meant to be like a kind of like dull thing. It gets a neutral. I think it's fine. Gramble also gets a neutral. It's a dog, but I'm not sure why Gramble is like... I don't really know what Gramble is meant to be doing. It's a bulldog that's standing up, and it's fairy type. Quillfish. Quillfish is kind of... Actually, yeah. Quillfish... yeah, I'll put them in neutral. Quillfish and Hisuian and Quillfish both, they're just pufferfish. There's nothing else going on. Scizor. Scizor's grown on me a lot. It's got the cool, like, superhero thing going on, but it doesn't overstate it. Megas are the same thing. This is one of the weaker Megas, like, design-wise, in my opinion. Its base form is honestly maybe cooler. It's hard to tell. Yeah, I'd give it to its base form. Its base form just has more, like, dynamicness. That's the word. It just has more going on. Circle. I'm not sure exactly what it's meant to be, honestly. It's just kind of off-putting. I don't like the circles. The circles just look really weird. Heracross. It's cool. It's not the best bug fighting type. I think this thing is like really rare in Gen 2, and Heart Gold Soul Silver as well. You can only get from like berry trees, I think. Yeah, headbang trees, that's what it was. Because you put like honey on them, I think. I should actually finish Soul Silver. But yeah, I don't think it's like cool enough to justify that. Like, if you were headbutting a tree and like, I don't know, a Tyranitar came out, then okay. But like Heracross is just a bit of a nothing design. It's a bug that is strong. And it's like, okay. It's mega, I don't like it. Skill Link is kind of useless when it's only multi-hit ability. Move, I mean, is Pin Missile, which still isn't very good. Sneasel, okay. Well, Weavile used to be my favourite Pokemon for a long time. I'll give it... I'll actually put it neutral. No, I'll give it like... Its colour palette is good, I like that. Again, it keeps it simple, but does a bit more with it. The design inspiration is quite simple, I think. I think that it could do with a bit more flair, but that's what Second Evolution is for, and Weavile kind of does do that. So Sneasel is a perfect, like, first stage for it. It's just a shame that this was all there was in Gen 2, and because Weavile obviously wasn't in that game. Hisuian Sneasel. It does a bit more with the design. I like the colour scheme even more. I like the purple, yellow, grey thing. But yeah, I think that Fighting Poison is an interesting route to go down. They could have easily made it Fighting Ice and it would have made a lot of sense, considering that's like a mountain climber. But Fighting Poison does kind of work. Teddiursa. Its moon thing is kind of cool. It's just a bit of a boring first form. Ursaring. Ursaring actually goes in dislike just because I would have hoped it would have done more with the original Pokemon, but it just kind of doesn't really do anything. It's kind of just a bear. Slugma. Neutral. It's just like a lot of Gen 1 and 2 designs just go in this neutral category where like there's just not much to say about it. Magcargo, I think Magcargo improves on it a bit with the whole like it burns hotter than the sun or whatever. But I don't really like it for that because it's just sparked so many like annoying theories where it's just like, oh, if you had one Magcargo, just kill everyone. And it's like, yeah, but that's kind of... I don't know. No, it doesn't deserve dislike for that actually, that goes in neutral. Swinubisky. It's a little guy. I can put Piloswine in the same tier, I think. I like how its eyes are still covered. No, its eyes aren't covered, Swinub actually. But I like how the hair covers its eyes. Corsola, I really like Corsola. I used to think that was a Gen 7 Pokemon because I watched the Gen 7 anime, and it was featured in that quite heavily. It comes to another evolution, but Galarian Corsola does get one. Speaking of Galarian Corsola, yeah, the bleached coral thing is just a bit cooler than the regular coral. It improves on the design by just adding more to it. Remoraid. Apparently this is meant to be based on a gun, and I really don't see it, but sure. It doesn't change my ranking of it though. This is a neutral, it's a fish. That's about it. Octillery is also neutral, it's an octopus. It's loosely based on like a tank, I think, but it's kind of hard to see it. It gets sniper as an ability, it's kind of bad. Yeah, this is kind of just a bit of a Delibird. It's okay. Its inspiration is very obvious. Do I rank it down for that though? No. Like, this is Santa. Like, if it wasn't already obvious. Mantine. I like Mantine. I like how it has a Remoraid in its official art as well. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I think this needs like an evolution or an alternate form or something like that to just make it a bit more interesting. Because right now it's kind of just Ray and nothing else. Skarmory. Skarmory is infamous for being great defensively, obviously. But it goes in neutral. I'm not quite sure exactly what's meant to be based on. It could just be like, it's a steel bird, and not much else. Again, I think they could have just done a bit more with this design, because it does feel like it's just a steel bird and nothing else. There could be more that I'm missing, but that's all I really see. Houndour. It's a dog, but it's also evil. It's neutral. Houndoom, I think they could have done a bit more with this design, because like I think it's meant to be based on like Cerberus, I think. It's kind of hard to tell. But it doesn't have the 3 heads, which is what Cerberus is known for. So they could have definitely done, even if they gave like this an evolution, because it kind of looks a bit middle stagey. They could just give this an evolution and then made that like the 3-head Cerberus. I think it's like fine. I don't think it deserved a Mega, to be honest. I like it. I just don't know why they did it. Its colour palette is kind of boring. It's just black, white, orange. Kingdra. I like Kingdra. It is actually the only Dragon-type Pokemon from this gen that isn't a Mega. So that kind of boosts it a bit. Fanpy. It's an elephant. Yeah. I always get this confused with Qfan from Gen 8. Donphan. Donphan, in my mind now, is just regular Iron Treads or Great Tusk. It's just very default like that. Porygon 2. It's Porygon with curves. Something like that. Stantler is a dislike because I don't like its face. Why is its nose so big? Deer aren't like that. Smeagol is infamous in VGC, but now that Dark Void is banned, it's kind of bad. Yeah, I don't like this. I think design-wise it's fine. The Painter Beagle thing, yeah, it's fine. It's not got much going on. It just feels too gimmicky, I think, as a Pokemon. Tyrogue. Actually, I don't despise this as much as I do with Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, to be honest, but I do still hate it. It still looks weird. I still don't like its colour scheme at all, but it gets a pass because it's just a bit more goofy looking than these, which are more serious looking and look worse. Hitmontop though. Hitmontop actually gets the honour of being a neutral Pokemon from this evolution line. Because it's just less painful to look at than Hitmonlee. The blue helps so much, to be honest. Like, because with this the only hint is red, which is too close to brown to be, like, different enough. This just has nothing. But the blue really helps to, like, bring out other aspects of its design. And I like that. Smoochum. Nah. Does anyone like this? Jinx is obviously quite problematic. Smoochum is just a bit... I think that goes in here as well. It goes next to Jinx. Yeah. Elekid. It's a baby Pokemon that looks too much like a first stage rather than a baby Pokemon to be a baby. But it still gets neutral just because there's not really much going on with it. Actually, no, there is a bit more going on with it. But I don't think it's really enough to move it up or down. Magby. Magby looks like a baby. That's a good thing. It still gets neutral. But Magby, like, looks the part. Miltank. I remember there was like a whole thing about like Whitney's Miltank being really difficult, and I think that was a bit overstated. But This is one of those Pokemon where it's just like there's not much going on, so you can't really give it like a higher or lower ranking. Like, this is just a cow. That's really it. Blissey, actually, I love this design. Do I love it? Or do I like it? I think I like it. It sells like the healer kind of vibe more than Chansey does. I like the fact that it's more... It does a bit more of the egg shape than just being like egg shaped like Chansey is. Like, this is just a bit off-putting. This is a bit cooler. Raikou? Because it looks stormy, and I think that's a really good thing. Like, the combination of the yellows with the greys and the little bits of blue make it look like, okay, yeah, you can tell that this is like based on lightning, this is based on storm, and that's a really good thing. I think they could have made it look a little bit more legendary, you know? But I think it does a good job of looking the part. I think that's good. Entei is a little bit worse. It's the worst of these three in my opinion. It looks a little bit out of place with the other two. It just looks a bit different. Suicune is my favourite of this trio. I just like this more. I like the kind of crystal thing on its forehead, like the kind of elegant kind of ribbons on its sides. I like this. I think this is a very cool design for a legendary. Larvitar. Okay, Larvitar I don't like. Same as Pupitar, actually. I always thought that these were rock dark, like Tyranitar, they're rock ground, I didn't know that. But these are kind of just like, is this a bug? Is this a... What is this exactly? Tyranitar? Okay. Before I started playing competitive, my opinion of Tyranitar would have been like here. After though, it's like all the way up here. Maybe even here? Yeah, I think it is. Like, this thing dropping to, like, RU or wherever it dropped to, and then slowly rising back up to OU was so, like, fun to watch. Because it happened over the course of, like, a good few months. And it's just funny seeing a Pokemon that's been a staple of OU ever since it was released drop, like, 2 tiers. Mega Tyranitar. It's actually one of the stronger Megas, design-wise. I like the fact that the face on its chest becomes more pronounced. Yeah, this gets up here. It's very intimidating compared to a lot of other Megas, and I think that's a great thing. Lugia. I don't like this. It looks weird. It should be Psychic Water, in my opinion. It doesn't look like it should be a legendary, it looks like it should be like a mythical, maybe. Actually no, Ho-Oh goes higher. Ho-Oh does go higher. Ho-Oh has more going on its design. It's obviously a phoenix. That's very, like, observable. I think that it's quite obviously a fire type, kind of. That's kind of just inferable from the phoenix thing. And its colour palette is a lot nicer. Like, white and blue just isn't a very striking colour palette compared to, what is this, red, white, red, white, green, blue. And it's the rainbow Pokemon as well, so having a lot of colours does make sense. I wish they leaned more into the rainbow Pokemon thing, because it kind of just looks like a phoenix and not much else, but it still works as a phoenix and not much else, honestly. Celebi. This is the last Pokemon. Celebi. I don't really like a lot of the mythical designs, and I think this one goes right in the middle. Its time travel thing is cool. We don't really need time shenanigans, but I'm glad they didn't mess up the story too much with the time travel thing. They didn't mess up at all, actually, I don't think. I don't think it even comes up in Gold Silver. But I think that this is like a perfect poster child for the mythicals. Like, yeah, there's definitely something kind of mystical and mysterious about it, but it also doesn't look too intimidating. Whereas you have things like Zeraora, which I don't think are as good at mythicals because they just look a bit scary, I guess. There's not much to say about that, honestly. I would hope they'll have been more climactic. But yeah, that's Johto done. Next time we'll do Hoenn, I guess, which there are actually a lot more Hoenn ones. Are there? Not loads, to be honest. But yeah, Johto was fun. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.